of patient monitoring. Why investing in IoT devices is a smart move for hospitals. Today's discussion is all about transformation, how connected monitoring, continuous data insights, and IoT enabled automation are reshaping hospital care, reducing clinical burden, and elevating patient safety across India. To begin with, I'm honored to have us exceptional panel clinician leaders and the industry expert present here. I would like to introduce them. Dr. Mohammad Tariq Ali, Senior Director, Critical Care Medicine, Yashoda Medicity, a respected name in advanced critical care and patient safety transformation. Dr. Ali brings a deep expertise in modern monitoring and acute care delivery. Welcome, sir. Thank you so much for joining. Um, Dr. Amit Sridharan, Director and Senior Consultant, Critical Care Medicine, Aster MIMS, known for his clinical leadership and technology-driven care pathways. Dr. Amit has been at forefront of modernizing critical care unit. Welcome to our session, sir.
Hi, thank you
Thank,
for having
thank you
me.
so much for joining, sir. Dr. Vasundhara Atre, Associate Director, Medical Services, Manipal Hospital, Old Airport Road, Bangalore. A key voice in operational excellence and clinical governance, Dr. Vasundhara has played an instrumental role in integrating data-driven and IoT-powered workflows in tertiary care settings. Welcome to our session, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining. Mr. Sandeep Bhosle, Manager, Sales and Marketing at Murata Wares Private Limited, representing the technology and innovation side. He brings a strategic lens on how IoT monitoring solutions are revolutionizing hospital operations. Thank you so much for joining, Mr. Sandeep.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the warm welcome.
Thank you so much. Now it's time to introduce our moderator who will be leading this conversation ahead with our panelist, Ms. Sudipta Adhikari, Manager, Marketing, Communication and Strategic Planning, Murata Wares Private Limited. She will guide us through Wares innovation journey, deployment strategies, and real-world outcomes with our speakers present here. Welcome, Ms. Sudipta. Thank you so much for joining. And now I hand it over to you.
Thank you. I think we do have Dr. Mohammad Tariq Ali as well joining us in the panel. So, Simran?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He's here with us.
A brief introduction. And then we...
Sure. I believe Sir wasn't present there, so I would just like to welcome him again. Dr. Mohammad Tariq Ali, Senior Director, Critical Care Medicine, Yashoda Medicity, a respected name in advanced critical care and patient safety transformation. Dr. Ali brings deep expertise in modern monitoring and acute care delivery. Welcome, sir, and thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Over to you, Sudipta.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us and giving us time. I know you've been having very tight schedules, so really thankful for this. So let us go ahead and start a talk on, IoT being the buzzword in every aspect, even in healthcare. So we just wanted to understand for our benefit and our audience benefit, how do you think IoT is defining hospital monitoring and care? And how, what investing in wireless IoT monitoring devices would be the smart option going forward for hospitals. And you can start the talk, and we'll. I do have certain questions which will, let's try to keep this interactive. And whoever wants to from the speakers share their thoughts first may go ahead. But to get the conversation going, we understand that India as such, or on a global scale, mobile monitoring and remote patient monitoring will, and digital as such, will play a huge role. So wanted to understand, as hospitals are transitioning healthcare is transitioning to a data-driven care, how do you think the continuous wireless vital sign monitoring will, their early intervention will change the protocols and will finally impact the clinical decision making process? Dr. Tariq Ali, your views on this, and then we can move with, Dr. Atre and Dr. Amit Sridharan joining us and sharing their viewpoint on this question and bringing their insights forward.
Sorry, I got disconnected. Can you repeat the question all over again?
As the hospital are transitioning to a more data-driven care, from your perspective, how do you see continuous wireless vital sign monitoring, changing the landscape, changing early intervention protocols, and finally impacting the clinical decision-making process?
Right. Okay. So now remote monitoring actually isn't something new. It's just that the internet is new, right? Okay. So remote monitoring, you can. I always quote that it started right when it was space medicine when. Uh, Man went up to the moon and their heart rate and blood pressures were monitored, right? So that is something like the remotest monitoring possible. Okay. So now those things were available only for a select few at that period of time. With the arrival of the internet, I think we can actually afford to have different hybrid forms. Okay. Now, I'm not sure about where the hardware part is, but the software, when it comes to the software thing, India leads. This is a fact that we lead the world when it comes to the software parts. Okay. Now, giving them algorithms, giving how it functions, given the arrival of eICUs as well, right? Where uh, I can actually look at least 12 to 15 ICUs remotely placed, okay, uh, with um, with each one of them on big screens. In fact, Yashoda Medicity, which is a brand new hospital, it's just been inaugurated about um, 2 months back, right? They have the largest kind of um, facility for eICUs. And once that comes in, well, we can definitely look into what we can do with the physician's part and how all that information goes to one particular physician who a junior one will be looking after at the first instant, and the senior person remotely connected, remotely connected, will give the inputs. So that's how this IoT devices should be, and we are actually not only thinking about remote screens, remote ICU falling onto different screens, but one compact screen with an IoT device which has heart rate, blood pressure, respiratory, the things that come up on the monitor. Not only that, but also you're going to have things like okay, episodes of hypoglycemia or monitoring blood sugar or need of nebulizers because each time so you can actually calculate, say, a COPD patient for that matter, how many times had he to be nebulized, uh, so you can actually look at a graph on the one thing that can be looked at in the one go. Something like episodes of uh, epilepsy or fits, or in Parkinson's, you can have tremors, episodes of stomach upsets or vomitings. So all of this we're looking at, and it will definitely revolutionize things that without somebody phoning you up saying that, okay, um, doctor, this is it. Everything can come up on your mobile screen, giving you, tailored sort of vital parameters that you fix. So this is what I think. Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Tariq Ali. This was set the stage, and it was good insight coming from you. I'll move on, and I will, from my next question, Dr. Vasundhara, if you could share your thoughts. And that is now that we know how wireless monitoring and remote patient monitoring is coming into integrating the entire scene and the landscape. My next question to you would be, from a patient safety standpoint, what measurable impact do you think you have observed or you expect to see if you consider real-time IoT monitoring in terms of, aspects like in terms of reducing deterioration, complications, or readmissions, or reducing critical events? So, how do you think this will shape, or what expectation do you have with IoT monitoring in these clinical outcomes? Do you think it will benefit? Yeah.
Right. So, Sudipta, the main thing with the IoT monitoring is that we have gone from episodic to a continuous care. We have taken away the aspect of blind spots. That means between the manual visits of the nurses when they are going in. So this means that we are directly connected to our patients. I think that is very important. As a result of this, there are also the automated alerts that are coming in. Now, this is also building into our Muse scores or the early warning scores, what we call it, and with the AI sitting on the top and the stratification. So in terms of a patient's safety, the way that I look at it, we are actually looking at a reduction in the amount of unrecognized deterioration that is likely to happen. In fact, worldwide, they have shown in global deployments almost a 20 to 40% reduction in the amount of code blues that are being called in hospitals. And in fact, there is a particular University of Chicago in a 2021 study has actually said that there has been a 60% reduction in the code blues, right?
Okay.
Again, there is a lower complication and escalation rates that we are seeing. So, for example, if they are actually saying that your early detection of respiratory depression following the use of opioids. So opioids are basically drugs that we use for pain control or for palliative care. And today we have seeing an increase in these numbers in our wards, right? So we actually can have a very much earlier triggering of the respiratory depression, which can be picked up before it goes to a point of no return. So there's a lower complication and escalation rates will be faster, obviously. When you have an early detection of the respiratory depression, like I just said, any arrhythmias, that is a change in the rhythm of the heart beats that are happening. In case there is a fall in blood pressure, the hypotension, what we say, and if you have a delirium, all of this will obviously bring down your ICU returns or ensure an early transfer before you come to a state of a code blue or an emergency has to be raised. Interestingly, we have also shown that your length of stay of patients, right, especially have come down. You can actually bring it down for almost 0.5 to 1.2 days in post-operative patients, high-risk cases. And all this is because of the IoT and the monitoring that we are doing. And this also means that you can also have a lower incidence of readmissions. So if I were to tell you that in these patients where these have been used, a 30-day readmission rate has actually come down by 30 to 50%.
Wow.
Especially when they have been monitored for congestive heart failure and for our COPD cases. The last point I'd like to make is that there is an improved consistency in the monitoring. So the manual observation, the staff picking up something when they actually go to the bedside, that gets taken away. So there is a trending that is happening and you are reacting to trends and not snapshots of the patient monitoring.
Right.
Thank you, Sudipta.
Thank you. Thank you. So this, points us to what we also believe at BIOS, that healthcare is more reaching at a level where it's not reactive, it's more proactive. That's the
Absolutely.
thing. And prevention is, getting the focus rather than, this thing. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. My next question, and it would be lovely to have, all the speakers weigh in if you can, is, when hospital leadership, now we understood the clinical side of it, saying that it is already, like Dr. Atre has shared stats saying that there's a 50 to 50% reduction in readmission rates. So it is going to be clinically, we understand it's going to be very beneficial. But if suppose I am in a hospital leadership and if I am evaluating IoT from an investment perspective, what should we, as a hospital prioritize beyond device cost? That is maybe what should your ROI, or what are the metrics that you will look at if you were to invest in, IoT devices? Maybe workflow alignment, maybe integration readiness, maybe the reduction in a clinician or a nurse's workflow. So, what are the few pointers? And it will be lovely to have all speakers weigh in their opinion on this. Thank you. Yeah, one better.
So Sudipta, if I can start here,
Yes, please.
I think one thing most important is about, I'd like to state that it has been shown that even an ROI, right, can be as much as 3:1 or 7:1 if you have a complete deployment of the IoTs. So I think that the ROI should not really be such a concern today.
Okay.
Right? The other things that would definitely benefit is, imagine if you can free up a nurse's time every
Okay.
shift by 45 to 60 minutes.
Okay.
Right? Because we keep complaining as doctors and management, and patients complain that nurses don't spend enough time with us. They are so busy on the systems and all of it. So imagine if you can make a 6-hour shift or an 8-hour shift, free up a nurse to actually spend that extra hour by the bedside.
Right.
So I think the nursing time recovery is something that is definitely, we would be looking at. Again, I would also say standardized documentation.
Okay.
Today, we live in a world of a lot of medical legal, cases coming up at different points in time. And imagine that you actually have everything documented for you the way it happened. And it is not arbitrary, it is not snapshots in time, but actually the progression and how it was actually managed. I think it would really add to our medical legal defensibilities, if I may say so. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Amit is on mute. I think he's trying to say something.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you're right. I was trying to say something.
Yes.
Hi, good evening, all. Great to have a wonderful topic. So, I think I would look at. I agree to whatever Dr. Atri said, and I would also add on to the clinical ROIs, like reduction in code blues outside ICU. So we had started using it, and like around 8 months since we started doing it. And when we looked at the data, actually we could come down on the number of code blues we had. So as we rightly said, the monitoring is continuous, not like uh, that blind spots are actually being taken care of because of continuous monitoring. The other thing is actually unplanned ICU transfers. Like you don't want to shift somebody to ICU. Like maybe some unwanted transfers can be actually stopped. We have a monitoring, so we can have fundamentally we can have ICUs anywhere in the hospital, not just in the ICUs, but somebody who doesn't really fit into an ICU criteria, but who needs monitoring. I think we can do with this. Actually, that also increases. Like there are so many benefits. The financial element on part of the family, again the mental aspects, like the patient will be feeling much better when they spend time with the family in the ICU. So all those things are like some are like unmeasurable, like you can't really measure it. And I think even we can it can also result in some reduction in mortality as well if you have continuous monitoring. So I think those are
And
the things.
Sudipta,
And
I think,
regarding the,
yeah, please,
please,
please, Dr. Ahmed, please.
Yes,
please.
Dr.
Yeah. So, Sudipta, I totally agree with Dr. Ahmed that clinically there are a lot of benefits that will accrue. But like you were talking about it from the operational perspective, I think what I can also add is about the workflow smoothing, right? So what happens is traditionally during any shift, you suddenly have all patients who require their vitals to be checked. So what we call as a vital sign peaking that happens, right? Now, this is something that can be actually avoided when you have the IoTs in place, right? Also, in terms of patient mobility. Now, post-operative patients, traditionally, you tend to hook them up to monitors. They are in the ICU, they move into the wards, and suddenly they feel as if they've been left on their own.
Yeah.
Right? So one is you're giving an extension of the same level of monitoring, plus you're giving freedom. Patient is mobile. Patient is able to, do what he needs to do, whether it is exercise, walk, eat, and he's not sort of strapped to the bed because most of the IoT devices do tend to be Bluetooth and wireless. So I think that is another thing that really helps. And there is also some element of scalable monitoring, if I may so say, in the sense that there's a flexibility of how you want to deploy these devices across. They are not fixed to beds, they are not fixed to people monitoring them. It is a system which is dynamic and it can be adapted based upon the patient load. So I'm looking at this more from a managerial perspective as to how the IoT can actually help.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wonderful. You've already, I was later would have asked, my next question would have been how it decreases or manages the workload responsibilities. You've already thrown light on it. Dr. Ali, would you like to throw some light on this? Maybe how the workload responsibilities can be eased, or what ROI benefits can you show, share some insights or your opinion on this? On the operational benefits, you can talk about the, clinical ROI.
Yes. So basically, this was a very kind of interesting inputs that were given earlier on. I would rather see uh, that the role of IoT is something like beyond that. Okay. And interestingly, very interestingly, it is asset tracking systems for equipment like, wheelchairs, um, defibrillators, and even, real-time location systems for staff and patient tracking also. I might also mention, well, if that helps the the medical staff, then it also helps the administrators. And very interesting move by the hospital administration was, putting devices into the visiting cards or the visitor cards for the relatives so they can track the relatives down and send them to the billing section. That's how it was. But anyway, but looking at other things like, uh, you know, mm, sensors, like, ingestible uh, pills containing cameras, video pills for diagnostics and all that. Um, so we've gone way beyond the glucometer, blood pressure cuff, heart rate monitors, saturation probes, other things. So it's extending from not only this, but so then we can actually modify that in terms of prompts. That if these are the parameters that are showing, that are alerting, then the immediate suggested investigations that should pop up, that, okay, suggested investigations are a quick blood gas and an X-ray, those kind of things. Okay. And the same alert goes to the physician. So that's how I think it should take care of most of the problems. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. It's all perspective. Now we have a question from the audience that they would like to ask our speakers, and that is, continuous wireless monitoring will eventually replace traditional bedside monitors in some care settings. Why do you think, or why would you disagree that it will not? Why or what? Why not? What are your thoughts, views? And it's open to all the speakers. This is a question coming in from the audience. So, continuous wireless monitoring will eventually replace traditional bedside monitors in certain care settings. Why or why not? What are your views? Yeah. Any who would like to answer this first?
So that's why I would actually agree on that.
Oh, okay.
Right. I would agree to a certain extent because you made there was a rider to that in certain care settings.
Right.
Right. So the IoT is definitely going to help us in certain care settings. For example, today you want to monitor a patient from home.
Okay.
You want to set up an ICU, especially in your palliative care cases from the house. Right. So these are not the patients who are actually going to come into the hospital for you. And
Right.
even within the hospital, see, patients transition from different care settings. Like they would go from an ICU to an HDU to a ward bed to daycare to the works. Now, it is not that the patient requires the same level of monitoring everywhere. And like I earlier said, if I'm able to give wearable devices that allows my patients to move around, I do not need him to be hooked to that one monitor by his bedside.
Right.
However, in an ICU setting, I truly believe that that is not likely to change in the near future.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, here I would say, see, now I'm just as we speak, I'm sitting here in ICU, right? Okay, then you can hear the beeps in the background. I would rather have patients with small, compact, wireless devices that display vital parameters on a screen and no wires attached. That would be my dream ICU. In fact, those kind of devices are now slowly coming up, but not that popular. Because each device, I think, that any hospital purchases, they say, okay, at least for 10 years, this one will not require any wires. Actually impede your uh, proximity to the patient if you want to approach right away. They also harbor bugs and infection which needs to be cleaned every day or regularly, right? And there's always um, a risk. There's always an inherent risk and an inherent error that yes, this will of misplacement. A lead placed here gets misplaced here, and the whole ECG changes, and you take it out for something like an MI happening or an adverse. So yes, I would definitely, as an intensivist, would definitely love to have wireless things come soon. That will make life easy.
Great. Thank you. Dr. Amit? Yes.
Yeah.
Your view.
Yeah. So for me, uh, I agree to the fact that I don't think it working in ICU. Hello, am I audible?
Yes,
Yeah.
you.
So I don't. Yeah. For why, why not? I would say it's perfectly for ICU patients, for high acuity patients, where we need a lot of fine information like waveform analysis, all those things. I don't think that is possible right now. Maybe in the future it might, but right now I don't think it's something for the ICU. But again, like looking at patients outside of ICU or low acuity patients where you need monitoring, those patients, maybe we can slowly switch to, it can switch to IoT monitoring, continuous monitoring, and even like patients in home care. Those patients actually can benefit from this IoT monitoring. So those kind of transitions can happen, like nurse monitoring, as we discussed earlier. Those kind of monitoring can change. And other would be a tele ICU where you have, because in our country where we have low resources and high volume, so those maybe level one ICUs, kind of places where you don't have an intensivist, level two, level one ICUs. We can have a tele ICU setup with something similar monitoring. Otherwise, I don't think, at least in a high acuity ICU, we won't be able to switch to an IoT.
Yeah, got it. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Thank you. Speaking of IoT and wireless monitoring, I'll have my colleague, Mr. Sandeep Bhosle, talk about the technology which we are into, and which he will introduce how the technology BIOS is, harnessing IoT monitoring systems. So over to you, Sandeep. Yeah.
Hi, Sevita. Thank you. I would like to thank all the speakers for their valuable insights into IoT devices, the requirements, the need for wireless monitoring, and the future ahead. Please allow me to share my screen.
Yeah.
I hope the screen is visible to all.
It's coming up, not yet, Sandeep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming up.
So let me know once you can view the screen.
Not yet. We are seeing your screen, but not the presentation. I think there's a little bit of a network lag. Would you want us to share the screen and,
Yeah, if it's possible.
yeah. Sandesh, do you think we can share the presentation on the screen and Sandeep can take it forward? Yeah. Somebody from Joseph Healthcare, and we have Sandeep's presentation on the screen. I think there's a little bit of network lag that he's facing. Yeah. There you go. Yes. Yeah, the presentation is on.
Sure. So here, I'm Sandeep Bhosle. I am handling sales for Murata BIOS for the Western India. Next slide, please. So about Murata BIOS, so it started as BIOS Medical, and what BIOS Medical is into is medical technology company, which is based on IoT sensors, which monitors remotely monitors the patient vital signs. It gives more control to the clinicians, gives more patient comfort, patient safety, and for the medical setup, the medical facilities to have more patients monitored wirelessly. Next slide, please. So Wires Medical was founded in 2012 by our CEO, Mr. Amit Patel, and Mr. Ganesh Subramaniam, the head of the Wires monitoring services. It was called the Wires monitoring system. We got the FDA clearance in the year 2016, and by 2017, Murata Manufacturing had acquired Wires Medical. Since then, it has been Murata Wires Private Limited. We have our offices in Bangalore, Hyderabad, and St. Paul. We are a small team, but it's a very reliable and active team of 75 employees worldwide. About Murata manufacturing, Murata Electronics was founded in 1944, way back. Worldwide, it has 70,000 employees. Murata is one of the world leaders in electronic components. Murata has presence in mobile phones, home appliances, automotives, energy management systems, and now into healthcare devices. So while starting with Wires Medical, the challenges which these guys faced, that these guys were encountering for the hospital setups were, increasing operational costs for the hospital while monitoring the patients, the lack of continuous monitoring for vital signs outside the ICUs. There was lack of easy and quick access to quality healthcare due to the location constraints of the doctors and the patients. They were far away. It was difficult to monitor them. There was lack of technology in the ambulance setup, especially when the patient is being moved from a location to the hospital, where we see the golden hour, which is very crucial for any life. So there was lack of technology which could send like physiological patient vitals to the hospital ER, which can be readied by the time the patient reaches the hospital. So we wanted to save that particular time by monitoring the patient vitals. Then came their idea about the wires monitoring system, how we can monitor the vital signs while the patient is on the go, while the patient is not in an ICU setup, but monitoring is happening, how he can be monitored outside these setups. So wires monitoring system, the US FDA cleared device, IoT based monitoring system. It has the following vital signs which can be monitored. It gives you a 7 lead ECG. This is the industry first. Uh, no other competition or any product has a 7 lead ECG which can be derived from monitoring system. It gives us the heart rate, the respiratory rate, SpO2, the posture of the patient as well, plus the pulse rate and temperature. And we also have the option for a third party blood pressure device which can be integrated, and the values and everything is set in the system. You can go back and review the entire data from the system for the nursing staff, for the doctors. It is very easy for them to monitor the patient vitals. They can track the progress of the patient. So device monitoring system, it has a chest sensor, it has a bedside monitor which is a tablet, it has the central station monitoring software. The entire data is stored within the hospital setup. There is no possibility for logging into the this data from outside the hospital setup. So we are HIPAA compliant. So the entire data stays with the hospital IT team. The access can be given only to specific individuals, which limits the patient data access to others who are not allowed to access it. On demand call for the vital signs deterioration. So the nurses can immediately call up the doctors if there is any deterioration in the patient condition. The doctors from their mobile apps, they can also monitor the patient and they can instruct the nurses. Being in a different location, they need not rush to the patient location for checking up. It becomes much easier. The data is transmitted, everybody knows, the clarity is there, what exactly is happening. It is very easy for the nursing and the doctors to communicate. So how does the data flow for wires monitoring system? So the chest sensor is connected to the patient. The entire data is collected by the chest sensor and it is transmitted to the bedside monitor, which is the tablet. So the tablet is connected to hospital's infrastructure, the Wi-Fi. So there is no requirement for any additional Wi-Fi setup by the hospital, especially for monitoring. The existing Wi-Fi setup is being used by the tablet, and the tablet bedside monitor sends the data to the cloud or the physical server, whichever is set up by the hospital, and the data stays over there. From the cloud server, we can access the data. Specific logins and IDs can be given to individual doctors, individual nurses, the different floors, different nursing stations, and that data can be accessed by anybody. It will help the nursing staff a single point, different wires. patient can be easily is ready with the medication. They know what plan of action to be taken for a particular patient. It saves very important few seconds or few minutes for the patient. Within the hospital, there's the hospital wards, the private wards, the VIP rooms, even the outside of ICU, and I have the step-down ICUs, the HDUs. So we can, as Dr. rightly mentioned, we can create mini ICUs outside of the ICU setup as well. So we can have more patients being monitored. So why virus? How virus? So this is for the facilities for the medical setup. Any facility which wants to monitor patients for them, it will be at a lower cost. They can set up this facility. It's minimum investment for the IT infrastructure. They need not have separate IT team or IT requirement. The existing Wi-Fi setup can work in it. For the patients, it is much reliable. It is safe for them. It is ambulatory. Patient can move around. So patients are pretty happy. They know they are in a comfort zone that somebody is watching us. For medical facilities, one of the important aspects becomes the revenue stream. So this can add as a revenue stream for the hospital setup as well. So for clinicians, what is it for the clinicians? The clinicians they want to monitor, as Dr. Tariq mentioned, he is monitoring so many ICUs. It is easier for them to monitor many ICUs from a single place. By logging into a system, he can have all the vitals of all the patients. He can review them. He can see the deterioration or the progress of the patient vital signs. It becomes much easier. He need not be dependent on calling up the nurses and checking up on individual patients. It is easier for patients; they can move around. For the nurses, as Dr. Vasundhara mentioned, the burden on the nurses, it is huge. We we recently in the last week or so we came to know how overburdened the crew and the pilots of a specific airline in the Indian aviation market were, and that brought the entire aviation market into disruption. The airlines were stuck. The ultimate casualty were the passengers, the common man. So it is much easier for the hospital setup to have a specific plan for the nursing. The nursing staff can be managed, the workload can be managed. They can, from their nursing stations, they can have all the data which is documented, which is recorded. They can take printouts of the data and they can just keep it ready for the doctor's reference for the patients. For patients. So the first thing is reassurance. They know that somebody is watching. They need not call the nurses every time to connect or disconnect the electrodes. They know that the doctors are watching, the nursing team is watching. The stay for them in the ICU or the post ICU setup becomes reduced. There are less code blues. The healthcare spend for the patients is reduced. So a patient is in a mental state wherein he knows, okay, the hospital is not going to charge me extra for anything. For the patients, it becomes much easier. So that's where the bios comes and the difference comes in. So what we do, we make it easy for the nursing staff, for the patients, and for the clinicians. Bios can be deployed anywhere across the continuum care within the hospital facility. The entire setup stays within the hospital. The monitoring bottlenecks which are faced by the hospital that can be cleared up. The patient has an enhanced experience. They feel connected with the nursing team, with the doctors always. They need not wait for the doctor's round to come. They know that the doctor will, even when he is not visiting, he can view the vitals at his cabin and he will be attending to the patient as per his ease. Bios is future proof because BIOS, based on the IoT setup, BIOS knows the future hardware, the software upgrades which are going to happen, that will be happening. And BIOS, since the entire software hardware is indigenous, we have the total control for the software and the hardware upgrades going forward. And hence, we are making continuous vital signs monitoring simple.
So I think next we can showcase the video which will give a good overview. And I would need Voice of Healthcare to play the video that you have. Yeah, thank you, Sandeep.
Thank you.
So this will take you through how BIOS is helping in the IoT monitoring system space and what exactly we are not hearing the audio. Again, the audio is not available. No, we don't have the audio of the of this video. Can you please pause the video and play it again? There's no audio. Give me a minute. No audio again. Okay, let's go to Dr. Amit Sridharan and he can give us an overview since we are facing a video lag. He can give us an overview of how BIOS has actually helped him in his setting. Over to you, Dr. Amit. Facing some network lag, yeah. Yeah, we can see your screen, but you're on mute, Dr. Amit. Yeah. You're on mute. Yeah, you're still on mute, Dr. Amit.
Okay, no, I missed the mute button. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'll just go through my where I use this, like in our ICU where we use this. So as you rightly said, we used Murata Bios, which was the technology platform. Um, we had this patient. So we had a remote monitoring. We have something called as critical care response team. So it's like the RRTs. So where we use this is for post ICU and patients who are monitored on the floor, uh, who are actually like the RRT team was contacted by the floor team, and when the ICU team, which is the CCRT team, when we assess the patient, we felt that patient can be managed on the floor. But these patients might actually need more frequent monitoring than our routine floor patients because they had few like they were actually vitally not very stable. Uh, Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
So this was hello. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So So these were the different indications in which we used. Patients shifted from ICU within last 48 hours after mechanical ventilation. So patients who required mechanical ventilation or patients who were on vasopressors or inotropes, um, and they within the last 48 hours, and they were shifted out of ICU. That might be because of multiple reasons. Because they might be stable enough at that point, and we might have shortage of ICU beds. So that might be one indication, like where we used is basically who were using on mechanical ventilation or vasopressors in the last 40 hours, but shifted out of ICU. Somebody who has had increasing oxygen requirement, all those organ dysfunctions. These were the different indications where we use this. So preferably it was ICU transfer out within 48 hours were also monitored by these IoT devices. And these were the different other indications like on oxygen support, organ dysfunction, or high early warning scores. Or again, some physicians or some nurses asked for extended monitoring, like even on the floor, they felt they were unsafe. So uh, they wanted extended monitoring. So these were the different selection criteria we had. And so what we did is based on we screened the patients for eligibility for a remote monitoring. Uh, and Vio's device was applied, and we continued the 48-hour continuous monitoring, the alerts to CCRT. So basically, who monitored these patients? These were the nurses. Like we have this critical care response team, which is basically ICU trained nurses who will be in the. We have something like a hub in the like a war room inside the ICU where we have all this, which is seen in the monitors. Sorry, I can't move my screen. So just like this, we have a big TV, and we can have like all those parameters, and a nurse will be monitoring those vitals. So we use these patients predominantly for ICU shift out for 48 hours, like patients who are shifted out in the last 48 hours. And those who did not really require ICU, but who required a bit of extra monitoring, those patients. So what we learned during this experience was we had improved patient safety. There were reduced unplanned ICU readmission. So as you all know that it's one of the quality metric for an ICU, unplanned readmission to the ICU within 48 hours. So those were actually those admissions came down, and there was an early escalation for unstable patients. Like there were a few instances where we picked up patients who had an increased blood pressure. And there were even the otherwise, like when we picked up hypotension earlier, because the blood pressure monitoring will be like every fourth hourly on the floor. So those kind of things were actually picked up earlier, and it actually reduced the manpower strain for ward nurses, because when we keep somebody on the floor who had some early warning score, like a higher early warning score on the floor, the ward nurses won't be able to monitor them. So those patients actually, when we had this IoT monitoring and when we were monitoring them in the ICU, actually it reduced a lot of manpower strain in these nurses. And yeah, so what were the challenges faced by us? Like adoption of training. Staff training had difficulties. Like we had to conduct multiple sessions for training, and even some of the patients actually complained of like sticking something on their chest. So they didn't feel they weren't very comfortable. Again, our HIS did not support the integration of this IoT, and battery life was the thing. But from this was from my initial experience. After that, we also had actually changed the battery, and I think the new generation has got better battery backup. So we had to check. Like initially, we had like problems where we had to switch batteries like 4 hours and all. So those were the challenges faced by us when we initially installed it. And our future considerations include integration with tele ICU services, where we can have look at peripheral ICU, and potential use in step down and STU where you don't really require a high-end monitor. Again, patient transfers within the hospital, like for a CT scanner or patient going to the OR for a surgical procedure. So those patient transfers can also be done with the same IoT. So we started the home care and home ICU services, which with the new monitor, and it's doing pretty well as well. It's not a future consideration anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So if you look at the data, good outcomes and enhanced efficiency, had an expanded access as well. So I think it really kept patients safe even beyond the ICU.
Thank you, Dr. Amit. I love that statement, keeping patients safe beyond the ICU. Yeah, and we were talking about IoT and future, and here you've walked us through how you are actually implementing that and doing it. That can be actually a lovely tagline: keep patients safe beyond the ICU. Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, while we were having a little video and network problem, it is okay. We can play the network, we can play the video. Also, in the meantime, to the audience, you all were given a poll question. You'll have three options, and I hope you've all, answered the poll, and please participate in it. We can have the, overview of BIOS, the video that we were playing, if that's all right. Yeah, organizers, if that's okay, VOHT. Otherwise, we can move ahead and discuss. Do we have the results from the poll? Simran, do we have it?
Yes, I think, yes, we do have. Is the
Wow.
screen visible?
Yes, absolutely. Wow. Okay, so as you can see, I think everybody can see on the screen, majority of the folks have said wireless and continuous monitoring is the most appealing feature in a patient monitoring device that they would consider. That's interesting. There's a second percentage of 33% saying that a 7-lead ECG is also what would attract them to a IoT device. Nice. Okay, 25% says ambulatory feature also does. This is very, the fact that people are considering wireless and continuous monitoring is very encouraging and shows what report and research we've been talking and this panel discussion we've been having, that wireless is the way forward in, as Dr. Amit Sridharan provided, at least in low acuity areas, wireless and continuous monitoring should be shaping the future. So yeah, so thank you for this, all the speakers, Dr. Vasundhara, Dr. Tariq Ali, Dr. Amit Sridharan, thank you so much, and Sandeep for engaging in such a interesting topic, the future of healthcare. Over to you, Simran. Yeah, we will conclude the webinar in a short while. Yeah, over to you, Simran.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dutta, and thank you to all the panelists present here for the amazing presentation and sharing your expertise. I think we do have some questions from the audience. Can we have that on screen? Is this visible?
Not yet. Simran. Yeah.
Okay. What I can do is I can quickly read the questions. Okay, wait, I can present this right now. Is it visible?
Not yet, but we can read the question.
Yes, yes. So I'll just quickly read it. One is, what strategic steps should hospital take today to ensure their monitoring infrastructure remains scalable for the next decades of connected care? Dr. Vasundhara, can we have this answer from you, please?
So in terms of scalability, I think we need to ensure that there is a backend structure which is available with us. If you have to be scalable, then you have to ensure that what is on the ground is going to allow you to scale up in future. And I think primarily some of the things would be that, you have to ensure that simple things like your Wi-Fi is effective, that there's an integration that is available with your existing EMRs that are there in the hospitals, that you have got, some kind of a cloud preferably so that there can be a continuity when if you change devices, you don't lose your data. There can be an ongoing integration that can happen with the newer equipments that you may be adapting because technology changes very fast. All of us are changing phones every 6 months and annually. So definitely technology and especially the hardware is going to keep changing. So you have to ensure that your data is secured and there is a continuity where your patients are concerned. So I think some of that backend stuff is going to be extremely important. Also, the kind of devices or the kind of equipments that you look at, you have to ensure in the long run that all of these are going to be interconnected. Unless you have that interoperability between the systems and you have that ability to integrate the devices that you are going to now be buying in future, you would not be able to get that scalability and continuity of care for your patients.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. And I hope a viewer who has raised this question would have received the answer. Next question is, any specific patient population do you think stand to benefit the most from IoT monitoring, and why are they often missed in early deployments? Dr. Ali, could you please answer this for us?
Well, I don't think that there's any group of patients I would place on top and the rest not. I think equal benefit goes to the critically ill as well as recovering from critical illness, maybe the ones in HDUs. And as the study pointed out by Amit was that yes, there was a reduction in the 48-hour readmissions to ICUs. So not only we must not think that the IoT or one more term is called as IOMT, which is Internet of Medical Things. If we look at that, I think we should uh, also have it in the ward patients as well, right? Episodes of hypoglycemia, episodes of seizures, episodes of bronchospasm, right? So these are the ones that uh, we should not, what I'm saying is we should not limit our importance, the value of, we should not limit the value of IOMT to only ICU patients. It should be extended beyond that. And in fact, later on to ambulatory care as well. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that answer. Another question is, are there adequate regulation in place for home care patient care service providers? Dr. Sridharan, could you take this, please? The question is, are there adequate regulation in place for home care patient care service providers?
So is that from the IoT perspective or general
I,
home care?
I believe it
I,
is for the general home care perspective.
I think for my hospital, like we have it was the first JCA accredited home care thing in the Asia Pacific. So when we started off in 2020 during the COVID, actually, so that was when, like during the COVID, that was when we started off home care in a major way. Like there has been multiple who are doing this. So I think I'm not very sure about uh, the legal framework and other things, but there are regulations. Actually, there are. I think even NABH and DCI, they all have got some regulations. Otherwise, from the government standpoint, I'm not very clear.
No problem. Thank you, sir. We have another question. Which operational bottlenecks beyond manual vitals collections are most effectively eliminated when IoT monitoring becomes standard practice? Dr. Sridharan, can you take that?
Sorry.
So the question is, which operational bottlenecks beyond manual vitals collections are most effectively eliminated when IoT monitoring becomes standard practice?
Okay, so as we said previously, more than manual vitals, it is those. I mean, uh, it's a continuous data. So integrating AI along with it, you can actually predict worsening, like if the heart rate, if there is a heart rate variation. Those things are not actually picked up when you have a manual monitoring. So I think that's the most important aspect, I would say, with patient safety. So the patient outside of ICUs, like those patients who are not routinely monitored, so that is the most important thing, I would say, rather than manual. Like from the nursing point of view, from the patient point of view, it's actually the safety which is being added on with IoT monitoring.
All right. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah,
Thank
there are a
you.
few things. Yeah, advantages I think we have already discussed. Like we can avoid unwanted transfers. So a lot of advantages other than that.
Right, right. Thank you so much, sir, for explaining us that to us and to our all our audience. And with that, we are done with our audience question, and we'll be moving ahead with closing. So I would just like to thank all our distinguished speakers for such a rich and insightful discussion we just had. And the session highlighted that IoT-based continuous monitoring is no longer a futuristic concept. It is a strategic necessity for hospitals aiming to enhance patient safety, that reduces staff burden and optimize operational efficiency. And my special thanks is to the entire Murata Bios team for partnering with us, and to all the clinicians, hospital leaders, and attendees who are with us. And thank you so much that they took us time to join us today. And we really look forward for more of such sessions where speakers are there to share their insights, expertise with us and with all our audience. And thank you so much for everyone who's present here. It's an honor to have you all with us.
Thank you, Simran. Thank you to
Thank
all
you.
our speakers. Very nice session, very engaging session. Thank you. And you can always get in touch with Virus Monitoring for any of your wireless monitoring, continuous monitoring needs. Thank you. We'll be in touch. Thank you.